we are in a new world. We are, everyone's impacted. How could little old me make a difference? And really, when you think about it, why wouldn't you want to mentor or volunteer, right? Or try to give back in some way, shape, or form? And that to me is really the heart of what today is it isn't so much about being an expert, right? And I'll talk about all of that. I think mentoring for me has been a wonderful way I said, okay, normally I spend a lot of my time on the metro heading to DC, in my car going to Baltimore, on a plane to North Carolina or Florida. I'm going to take that time that normally is travel or whatever, and I'm going to try to repurpose it. So I challenge you to, like, did you have a commute? Could you take some of that commute time and repurpose it, you know, for mentoring or even someone mentoring you? I think this is a great time to give back. I wouldn't even put the global unemployment number on here. Just looking at Maryland alone, over 500,000 unemployed. I mean, the numbers are staggering, right? People need help. People need help with transitioning, learning new skills and adapting, right? Technology jobs are available, and it's a wonderful time, right, for all of us who are in technology to maybe make a difference and lend a hand. So what's great, all of this can be done virtually. The way that you'll see the group that I found, it's all can be done virtually, so it's awesome. I did do it before the COVID, but I've definitely ramped up since, and so it's been nice to have that as a feel-good activity for me. I got to tell you, like, I get down some days. There are days I hit the snooze button 4 times. My husband, like, does not appreciate it, but that 4 times snooze, because really, you know, it's like Groundhog Day every day. So for me, it's the best part of my week, and why wouldn't I want to have some positivity? And the thing that I want, if you guys take anything away from today, is do not be intimidated. Every single person on this call has so much to give. So I'll dig into that here in a little bit, right? So let's just sit here for a second and take this in. I did post this on my network a few months ago. I've done it probably 2 or 3 times in my life, is posting this saying of be who you needed when you were younger, right? So if you think about that, what if you met someone 10 years ago with your skill set, right? What if you met someone 10 years ago with your passion, whether it's Salesforce, Beagles, military, gardening, whatever? And what if you met someone with your network 10 years ago? And so this is one spot I want to open it up. Let's all think about that. You know, what do you think would be different if you met yourself 10 years ago? Anyone? Don't make me call on you.
I wouldn't have had the skills that I have currently. Like today, what skills I have, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have had those. And it's because of the first point that you put there, Sue, because 10 years ago, I saw somebody with the skills and I was like, I want to become like that person, like either in 5 years or 2 years. And even today, I have the same drive. And that's what inspires me to get up in the morning and get to work every single day. And I really love the slide, Sue.
Great. So Bharti, what would you tell the 5-year ago Bharti or the 10-year ago Bharti? What, if you had to tell her one thing, what would you tell her? And let's say she wants to succeed in IT or in Salesforce.
Work hard, never be intimidated, because I was a person who was intimidated. You know that so well than anybody else because you were my mentor. And I would never speak up. So speak up. Always never be afraid to ask questions. Ask questions, get your answers, and that's how you grow.
Awesome. Thank you, Bharti. Anyone else inspired by this of just being who you needed 10 years ago to someone, to anyone?
Yeah, I
Amazing
would have.
gift. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was, so 3 years ago, I started working for myself, doing my own consulting. And 10 years ago, I wanted to, but I was too afraid. So if I had met somebody like me then, and they could have just told me or guided me into like taking chances and doing it earlier, I wish I had done it earlier.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyone else?
Yeah, so 10 years ago, well, very close, 11, 10 and a half, I was just dreaming of getting into technology and just thinking that's not possible, but because the whole IT department in that company was male. And I just thought, well, that's not, I don't know any examples. I don't know how to do this. I don't have the skills. I don't have the education. So just having examples, again, of amazing women and proving that anything's possible. You can learn how to code, you can learn the business analysis, and just go with your passion.
Awesome. Anyone else?
I'll go. So probably about the same timeline that Alicia is saying, probably about 11 years ago. That's probably when I first started working in Salesforce, maybe, yeah, I guess about 11, 12 years, something like that. I wish that that company is no longer around, but I wish that I had pursued more of Salesforce. I just didn't know enough about Salesforce at the time to keep going. There was only 2 of us in the company that actually knew what we were doing in Salesforce. So had there probably been more people, a larger network maybe, it would have been a little bit easier to, to pursue what I'm doing now.
Yep. Anyone else? Last call?
So I've got one. About 8 years
Thanks, Debbie.
ago. Can you hear me?
Oh, you got to speak up a
Mary,
bit, please.
yeah, Mary, we can't hear you. Your speaker must be up.
My microphone was on my head. Sorry. About 8 years ago, so almost 10, but 8 years ago, I was actually selling cruises, and that was my first experience with Salesforce, just as like an end user. And that happened to be the year when like cruising just went to hell, and like the Concordia sank in the Mediterranean. There was like the infamous Carnival Poo cruise, and I worked on 100% commission, and I was like, I've got to get out of here. Like, what am I going to do? And I had to figure out what I was going to do. And I started Googling things, and I got into startup, and I had the ability to kind of do anything I wanted at this company. And I chose to do Salesforce. So it's kind of, I feel like I'm in like, I don't know how to explain it. Does that make sense at all? It's like I'm almost living like the 10-year ago dream. I was like, I wanted to get into something that was like stable but like growing, and it's like, I don't know where I'm going with that.
So Mary, this is perfect, right? You've had to do this all yourself, right? And everyone on this call has a gumption to really get where they were today. But Mary, what if you met a younger version of yourself who just was into Salesforce reporting, didn't understand why they're drawn to this tool, but you can see yourself in them and, give them 2 pointers, 3 pointers, and just show them a path and show them the way. There's a quote later on in the deck that says something to the tune of, mentoring isn't about making people like you. Like it isn't about you being like me. It's finding your own path and your own truth. And I just love that. So anyway, think about how you got to where you are today. And what if you could take your special sauce, your inner unicorn, and focus on a few things that you're really, really good at, because everybody on this call is amazing. So anyway, we'll continue on this. I definitely wanted to dig in and get some conversation on this slide. This is what drives me, is trying to be that person, because 12 years ago, right, I found myself fired, not fired, laid off, sorry, fired sounds awful. Laid off. I had a choice. My company was bought out, and I had a choice. I could move to Texas and keep my job, which wasn't very inspiring anyway, or take a little severance package. And I think it was 2 months. And so I said, you know what? I'm not moving to Texas, as great as Texas may be. I'm staying in Annapolis. And I put all the chips in, and I remember calling Salesforce in tears, talking to the certification people, and they gave me a discount. I forget what it was, but I sat and I took the admin class, and the rest is history. And so I feel like when you find those anchor, oh gosh, no pun intended on my sweater, but when you find those like momentous times in your life where you really have to bet on yourself, you usually win. So anyway, more on that one, but I just wanted to inspire everybody. And so I'm going to talk about Salesforce and what a gift it is, just with our culture and how I navigate this piece of it. And I always like to remind everybody of really what's at the heart of Salesforce as a company, right? It isn't actually a CRM. It's a company who's committed to helping make sure technology can provide a better world for all of us, right? Whether it's teaming up with the United Nations on the SDGs, but more importantly, the fact that our 1-1-1 model has been in place since the day that Salesforce started, right? And I hope everybody knows, like, that's 1% of our time, 1% of our equity, and 1% of our product, right? So in focusing on that 1% of time, what that boils down to is it's part of our culture. That we have 56 hours of VTO, V with the, V as in Victor, V as in volunteer. And so sure, we have our VTO and our vacation time, but they also give us 56 hours to go volunteer. You don't have to ask questions. You don't have to ask permission. I mean, I suppose, clearing it with your boss, if you're going off to Tahiti for a week to build a school, you may need permission, but I happen to choose to give, the majority of my time to VetForce. These happen to be 12 equity groups that we have. We have a new one, GenForce. I had to look up what that was, and I thought it was interesting. It was age discrimination, making sure that there's equity for all ages. And it isn't just within our four walls of the company. We strive to put this out. So I just wanted to anchor, sorry, I'm using that word. It's probably my sweater driving it. But I wanted to just center the conversation around where I put my time, and again, apply this to whatever you're passionate about, skilled about, and feel like giving back. So I happen to find a company called Veterati, and it's amazing. It's like a matchmaker. So it's like Match.com for military mentoring, right? So as you say, hey, I want to be a mentee, right? Or you can go in and be a mentor. So you just go in, fill out your profile, you write what you're skilled about, and the things that you can offer, right? Access to jobs, access to a network, access to resume help, whatever it is that you can do. So years ago, I filled that out, and the rest is history. I'll show you a little bit about my mentees. But I found Veterati. when you think about these staggering numbers too, right, of like millions of veterans trying to transition from military life to civilian life, and IT is a wonderful fit, right? You think of like the discipline and the passion and those world skills that are so transferable. So anyway, Veterati's a great group. There's I'm sure different groups out there. I'm just giving you a taste of where my story is. So for me, right, let's think about it. I'm just Sue Marryott, regular old Sue, live in Annapolis, been around Salesforce a bit. I'm a history major, but I'm not a retired Army lieutenant colonel. I'm not the fire team leader, Bravo Company, 1st Ranger Battalion. I don't know anything about welding. I don't really know a thing about radio supervisors in the Marine Corps and everything. This is just a taste of who I talk to. I know nothing about that. But guess what? Like, what did I say earlier? I made sure that I was not intimidated. Like, I actually do have a lot to offer a 20-year-old retired, colonel from the Army. I'm finding, right? So I help them with interviews. I help them with certification. I help them with networking. I help them with, I've taken a look at their resumes. We've all written resumes. We've all looked at resumes. We've all been part of the hiring process, I'm sure, in one way, shape, or form. But really, the path, finding and showing them a path forward of, here's how I did it. It's not perfect, but it worked for me. Maybe it'll work for you. And then really providing practical advice. But throughout all of this, right, that common ground and establishing that relationship is really, really important. So I just pulled this together. So these are some of the do's and don'ts that I do. And so let me just kind of go through them, and I'll focus in on the important ones. I started off with making sure that I put down here that I committed my time. My calendar is a lot like yours. But Vana and I were talking at the beginning of the call about meetings getting clobbered, priorities shifting throughout the day. I make sure that if I have an hour scheduled, that I stick to it. And in fact, I block the half an hour prior to that for, finishing up my prep, making sure that I'm ready for the call. So I commit to that time. I take it very seriously, and I prepare for it. At this point, I have my own little template. Call it a call script. Just really, if it's my first time with someone or my third time with someone, right, that changes. But I do prepare. You guys all know me. I write. I have notebooks for decades of notebooks. I still like to write things down, and so that pen to paper is really important. And you saw on that prior slide, right, that common ground. I don't need to be. I don't need to go research radio communications in the Marine Corps. But what I do need to do is go look up this person on LinkedIn, on Veterati, go try to find things that we have in common to break the ice. Those first few minutes of a call, I don't know, some of us are introverts, some of us are extroverts, but making sure that you just break the ice and have a little fun, just trying to get to know each other. I do make sure that I look up their backgrounds, right, and try to find where they may have a particular skill set that can translate into a skill, right? Did they lead a battalion? Okay, they can transform that into obviously management, but maybe a program management position, right? So seeing what those translatable things are. Most importantly, I listen. My husband, when I was asked, he was a coach for decades, and I asked him, I said, what's your piece of advice for me? I wanted to make sure that I had everything covered, and he gave me 3 pieces of advice, and that was listen, listen, and listen again. And that does ring true, right? So for those that are wanting to be the mentee piece of it, right? What does that translate? How do you, what's the reverse of that is making sure you have your questions, making sure that you share what your goals are, right? So and that leads me to this last do that I always make sure is, what can I do for you? This is I always value it. It's their time. And what is it that I can help them with? What are their goals? But I let them know what my goals are as well. I don't think you should ever go into this just thinking this is a one-way street. If you're the mentor, all you're doing is giving, giving, giving. And if you're the mentee, you're not always taking. It does, as it develops and grows, it's a wonderful two-street. But make sure that you do that up front, is to understand, whether it's verbally or you jot it down or whatever, what is it that you want on both sides of that. And then I think most importantly, not only what are the things that I do, what are the things that I don't, right? And I almost had to write this down, right, sometimes to remind myself of, like, don't doubt that you have nothing to offer. The group and the talent on this call is amazing, and we could transform the world if we all stuck our heads together. So do not doubt that. What do they call it? Imposter. They call it the imposter syndrome. I mean, I know it is real, but I cannot begin to tell you how rare these skills are. You are a unicorn. And you can help someone with what you have, whether you have 0 certifications or not. All right, that's not the telltale sign. Don't get intimidated by someone's resume or their bio, right? I only showed you like what's on their what was on their screenshot. You should see the resumes of these folks and where they've been and where they've served. And it's just not an intimidation. You shouldn't be intimidated. You're offering your time, and there's nothing more helpful than that. There's nothing more just real about just giving of your time, and opening up, your heart and your mind, right, to help someone get to what they want to achieve. Even though I'm doing a lot of talking today, I try my best not to railroad the conversation. I make sure that that I answer whatever questions they have, and then put it back to them, put it back to them, put it back to them. And then finally, the thing that really gets me over the hump is understanding that you do not need a PhD to mentor. You do not need to be an expert. You do not need to really, it isn't about the letters after your name, right? It's all about the ideas and really that what you have to give. So I flip to my next screen, which is we're going to do an easy math problem here. So I do need some participation if you want to jump off of mute. So I'm going to put up some numbers here. So anybody have a clue on what 50,000, what represents 50,000? Anyone? I'll give the answer. I'll give you the answer to the first one.
Okay.
All right, so that's roughly how many Salesforce employees there are. Okay, so this one may be a little easier, right? What's 1,200? Go on the same theme. A lot of you work there.
Enterprise?
Salesforce.org employees?
Yeah. Yeah. So estimated number of employees at enterprise. All right. And now 0. Alicia knows the answer.
I don't want to guess. No.
I will reveal it. And Alicia and I were talking this week earlier, and this was a piece of advice that I was telling her. Right, there are 50,000 people who work for Salesforce. There are 1,200 people who work for enterprise. There are none, 0 of that group who know everything about their companies, right? There is no expectation of anyone to really, there's too many products, too many departments, too many things to know, right? And so this is really just reminding yourself that you do not need to know everything, right? You go into meetings all day long. You go in, you sit and talk to C-level folk. You don't know everything, but you still march in there. You're fine. You're prepared. You're as prepared as you can be. And if you don't know something, what do? You say, hey, let me get back to you. It's the same thing. Like, your mentees aren't expecting you to be omnipotent. None of us are. And so I just want to, put this out there, that you don't have to have a PhD. You don't have to study, right, and try to become an expert on it. So anyway, it's just level setting, just reminding you, don't be intimidated, and you've got so much to give. And mentoring isn't just for people with gray hair. And let me tell you, I'm so excited to have my hair appointment tomorrow. I was trying to get it done before today, but couldn't do it. So I hope everybody is on their way to less gray hair, but a lot more mentoring time. So I had to put Einstein in here somehow. And then, okay, so what can you guys do? Bob, now, were you the one who said earlier on that you signed up for the Trailblazer Mentorship program?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So I pulled that in because I think, I knew that not everybody's going to jump on Veterati. That wasn't the point of this call. The point of the call was to inspire you to give back wherever you feel, you want to, or where you feel like you could help someone who's looking for it, right? It's about finding that match, right? And so we have a program on the community called the Trailblazer Mentorship Program. And I put it out there. Look, both. If you still feel like you're on the mentee side, you can apply there. If you are feeling confident and want to mentor someone, you can fill out your profile on there, and then it does the matchmaking for you. What I was sorry to hear is that you weren't given, a script or 5 points or do this on your first call. So, Bhavin, do you want to talk about the experience of signing up and some of the process? This is off the cuff. We didn't rehearse this, so.
Yeah, so I had just gone there and signed up and filled out the form, and like I was saying earlier, then the next thing that happened was I heard from my mentee an email saying he's my mentee and do I have time to talk to him? So we just scheduled a call, and then I just went through. He's someone who's trying to get a Salesforce job, but he has no experience. So, but he has like 3 or 4 certifications. So I was just trying to tell him to find, some kind of a free nonprofit work, or because he's capable, and those kinds of things, and make himself more visible. There's so many now virtual conferences that you can present, and those ideas. And so we just had initial one call, and I need to check back with him.
Great. Do you have the that page for .org that has the link where you can go and see what volunteer opportunities are out there? I'll get it for you if you don't have it.
Oh yeah, I don't have that.
All right, I'll get you that link. All right, so
Thank you.
yeah. All right, so has anybody else seen of this, heard of this, gone down this path?
I think I have been on this. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I signed up as a mentee, but I never heard back from my mentor, so they put me back in the pool again.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was Michelle, right?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, keep me posted on how that goes. And I don't know, is there a way to like nudge or ping and go, hey, need some help?
Last time I just emailed, I think, the general Trailblazer Mentorship email account, and then someone got back to me because that's what I had to do when I hadn't heard back from my mentor after I tried to email them like a couple of times.
Okay. Well, good. We've got both sides, of the coin on here. And Bhavna and Michelle, do they ask you, right, what skills you have and what you're looking to build, and try to do some matchmaking?
A little bit, yeah. In their face, they asked a few things.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Well, this is a great place to start. If you want to check it out, and we'll share the deck and the links afterwards. I'll send everything off to Alicia, and she can distribute it from there. Here's the quote I was looking for earlier. The key to being a good mentor is to help people become more of who they already are, not to make them more like you. And I just think that that's great when you think about that. Suze Orman is so influential in the financial side. I just feel like this is this is how I think of it, right? And just making people better versions of themselves. So I do have some links here for the mentorship page, like before. Trailblazer Connect. If we have time, I might click on that just to show that to you. And then I included this virtual volunteering. I mean, mentoring is one thing, but I think it's closely coupled with volunteering, right? You're giving of your time. If anyone's looking for a really cool way to give back with your family, there's a site called Zooniverse. I got to tag whale tails, which I'm a closet marine biologist, and I just love anything that has to deal with dolphins and whales and marine animals. So I find myself, throw an hour of your time, if you have it or you want to do something fun with the kids, check out this Zooniverse. It's really, really neat. And a great way. It's all people-funded research, right? So Zooniverse is a nonprofit, and it's how scientists are looking for people to help them with research. So anyway, pretty cool. So I thought I would include that. When I came to Salesforce, I had 0 certifications, none. I'd failed, and I didn't need them, frankly, in the role that I had. But when I came to Salesforce, I needed to get 5 certifications in 90 days. And I got them in 100. I didn't get them in 90, but I still feel like 100 days, 5 certifications is pretty good. And if I can do that as an adult learner, someone who was very removed from college and a textbook, anybody can do it. And so I just do that same thing. I found it ironic when I was doing some research of like pulled out my props. And I just feel like that same approach, right? If you remember those three things of, you know, making people feel comfortable, that's huge, right? They're scared, they're looking for advice, and then, you know, showing the art of the possible just means showing the way. So I just felt like I would tie that back. So that was my point number one. And then point number two was Lacey and I were texting. I was just sitting on my couch. I was trying to think of fun names for today for our meeting. And I don't know where it came from. I just was like, you know, I do think all of us are unicorns in what we do, and we don't even know. Like I'm telling you guys, those features and skills that you have and what you do day to day is so needed, and millions of people are looking to tap into this. So just know how special you are. And so when I hear special, I always think a unicorn. And so the title of it was funny when I typed it in Google. Of course, people have books and blogs and all websites and everything. And I just wanted to give some credit to when you type in inner unicorn, this is what comes up. And it's perfect for what I was looking to achieve today, which is when we identify and align with our values and purpose, we step into our power. So your inner unicorn is the innate beauty, freedom, and healing available to each one of us, unique in the way it's expressed for each person. That's the essence of what we offer in this retreat, a pathway to find your inner unicorn. So this inner unicorn happened to be a retreat. Two ladies had a paid retreat. I'm like, damn, I wish I would have known. I think I'll follow it and see if they're going to host it ever again. And then I just love this image of like always being yourself. I think being true to yourself is super important. Unless you could be a unicorn, then always be a unicorn. So those were definitely how I wanted to wrap this all up. And I thought it was kind of funny how I had expected to talk about this in the beginning, but I was like, you know what, this feels better more as putting a bow on everything and making sure that you guys remember really how gifted you are. And it's just a matter of translating that. And the last thing I'll say is it may seem counterintuitive to mentor strangers. Like that took a while for me to say, you know, I don't know these people. I don't know. But I know that, like in my case, they're fellow Americans who need resources and access to jobs. And so I want to help them, right? And whatever your passion is, maybe it's jumping on that Trailblazer mentoring guide. Like they're a stranger for the first 5 minutes, and then, you know, the relationship it'll either go somewhere or it won't, right? And maybe it wasn't a good match. Not every match has to be perfect and will be perfect, and it's okay. I think in the resources it even talks about it's okay. Give yourself permission to recognize if it isn't a good match. So not everybody's born to be a mentor, but I certainly know that everybody on this call, whether it's the first time I met you or not, I know that you got a lot to give. So
thank you, Sue. What a beautiful message.
Yeah. So I'll jump over to the this is different from the mentorship, but they're all, no pun intended, they're all connected. Right. So I don't know if you've seen this. This is relatively new. but learning skills, getting career ready, and connecting to opportunity. So this is all underneath this Trailblazer mentoring, right? Is connecting Trailblazers to their next job. Oh, I don't know why my screen just refreshed itself, but there's a couple things I wanted just to point out. Is, of course, the top is going to be Trailhead, but I love this, right? Even if no matter where you go with your, oh, come on. I don't know why it keeps cycling. It is, I'm sure if you want to Google on your own, it's just Trailblazer Connect, but the different parts of this page are awesome. So videos on skills, and then connecting to opportunity, right? Events, not that we're having in-person events anymore, but you can imagine how we're reinventing ourselves and reinventing Dreamforce and all of our events. So I just think this is great, of like acing in interviews. And look, maybe some of you aren't looking for a new job, but I would assume that we're all talking to people and we're all looking to put our best foot forward, right? So don't feel like you're cheating on it, right? You can look at this job, he can look at this video, even if you're not looking for a new job, because it's going to give you real world advice on how to put your best version of you, in a conversation. So I just love all this stuff. So anyway, I wanted to point this out. And I think that is enough rambling for an evening.
Thank you very much.
If you had told me we would, oh, you're welcome, Stephanie. I'm so glad you crashed. I hope it was worth it. Welcome to welcome to the group. So glad you could join. Thank you everybody for your time and attention.
Thank you. It was amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, delightful.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel ready to tackle my next mentorship adventure, whichever side I'm on. So it was really helpful, and and we thank you for your amazing presentation as always.
Well, keep me posted.
Yeah, I feel like we can always be on both sides, because we're always like aspiring to be something else, but we have been somewhere, so we can always help somebody come up too.
Right.
100%. I mean, seriously, this group and the skills that we have, it's like every day I sit here and go, oh my gosh, like, so you think everybody has these skills, they don't, right? And so it's like, let's empower other people and help them at the same time. It's a wonderful gift, and something we could do. It's a great time to do it. So, Alacia, I'll circle back with you. Maybe tomorrow we can figure out how to share the deck and resources or whatever. So right now I'm going to go get a glass of wine. I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. I do miss seeing you guys in person, of course. So yeah,
we have
to. This opens up doors to more members, and Stephanie and Dar, Cheryl, of course, who wouldn't be able to attend in person. So we're glad for those opportunities too. But yeah, again, everyone, thank you so much for joining. It was glad to see our old friends and meet some new ones. Definitely let's stay connected on LinkedIn. We don't have your personal emails. They are in the system, but they're not shared with us. So let's connect other ways so we can continue this relationship wherever it brings us all these opportunities. Both Bhavna and I post on our LinkedIn when the new meetings are happening. In addition, you can sign up to trailblazergroup.com, and then you can find Columbia MD, and then whenever a new group is scheduled, you will receive an email. And let us know what topics you want to hear about, what you want to hear about, because we have connections, we can find good speakers, but want to make sure that it's useful to you, like this presentation was absolutely fantastic.
Also,
and
let us know if you want to present on something, because
yes.
you know, this is a very safe place to like work on your public speaking skills. Just present on anything. We are willing to hear about anything. So yeah, any one of you, everybody has something to share. So please, yeah, just step up and tell us what you want to talk about, and we'll arrange it.
Yes. All right, friends, have a wonderful evening, everyone. Keep the questions and conversations going. All the best to all of you.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you,
Enterprise and
Suze.
beyond.
Have a good night.
Bye.